Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Gives in the Bank Recruiting Podcast, brought to you by BuckeyeScoop.com. I'm Marc Givler, joined by Bill Greene. We are finally here. We are down to our last 10 prospects in our initial Scoop 100. We are going to reveal our number one player in the country. We're going to reveal the rest of our 5 stars, and we're going to reveal a couple of 6-star players. These are guys that they're special. I mean, we've talked about this on a previous episode. Sometimes there's just top 5, 6, 7 guys in a class are just a little bit different from maybe some of the other 5 stars who are ranked in the 20s and 30s. And we think we've got a few in this class that we're going to reveal as our initial 6-star players in the class. And so we'll get into that. We've got some interesting guys to talk about here. There's been a couple of actually, if we had recorded this, a few days ago or a week ago, we might not have as much to talk about with some of these guys. There's been some interesting developments on a couple of these guys, so we're going to go through that as well. But let's dive right into it. Obviously, these first few are 5 stars. I will certainly let you guys know when we're in 6-star territory. But number 10 overall, 5-star cornerback Denver Harris, North Shore High School outside of Houston, Texas. One-time Ohio State target that kind of fizzled out. I think a lot of that was the COVID stuff. He couldn't visit anywhere. I think he got very locked in with staying close to home at that point. And now he's considering a lot of SEC programs in Texas and basically schools, within a decent radius of Houston. But Bill, your thoughts on Harris, why he's pretty much a consensus 5-star, I think, across the sites. And why do you think that is? What makes him special?
Yeah, again, this is a tremendous cornerback class. And as I look at these guys, I can't help but think that 4 or 5 years ago, a lot of these guys would be wideouts. And they would be 4-star wideouts, and they'd be darn good players, but they're 5-star corners. And Denver Harris, he's an all-world corner to me. He's physical. He has hips. He's 6'1". These are some of the same characteristics we've said about 3 or 4 other corners, and they're hard to separate for me. I mean, again, if you're an elite program and you're not grabbing an elite corner and elite offensive tackle, there's something wrong because they're out there. This is a great class for corners and offensive tackles. Denver Harris, I mean, you look at the list, LSU, Bama, Texas, A&M, the usual suspects. He's probably a guy who can play early. He's special. There's nothing not to like about him. Some of these guys, you look back at, Clark Phillips was a guy we loved, but we wished he wasn't 5'8.5". We wished he was 5'11". These guys have everything. These corners, and this guy could be the top corner. I don't know. We've got him 10 in America, which is pretty high, but he's not the highest rated corner. But he might be. Who knows? I mean, he's a heck of a player. So, and like I said on a lot of these guys, I'd love to have him on my team. I know that. I go to war with this guy all the time. He's probably going to play 10 years in the NFL if he doesn't get hurt. So he's special.
No weaknesses that I've seen, size, athleticism, toughness, great kid. Just a great player. I think most years would be the number one corner in the nation. Still might be this year. This is going to be a little corner heavy as it kind of has been in the top 50. We still got some corners left, but for me, this is where the discussion for the number one corner in the class starts. I think from here on out, we got, like I said, we're going to get to some other guys, but I think this is the cutoff. I think Harris on up, we're having a conversation about who the best guy is. And I think he's in that mix. I think he's going to go to Texas. I just, that's my gut on that. I've been pretty involved in that one. Just know some of the guys down there at North Shore, and just my gut that he's going to end up at Texas. But I think we'll see how that plays out. Just think at one point he made a decision that he was going to stay close to home, and that was that. And a lot of guys do that. A lot of guys, early on, I'm hearing from all these other schools all across the country. And as they kind of sit around and talk to people and think about it, they're like, you know what? I'm going to stay somewhere, within a few hours. And I think that's a decision he's pretty much made. Next one, this is one of the guys I talked about, alluded to earlier that got a little interesting here in the past week or so. And this is going to be our number one receiver in the country right now. Again, 5-star Luther Burden, East St. Louis High School, transferred out of St. Louis across the river there to East St. Louis. Again, one-time Ohio State target. One time, very early on, I was told Ohio State would be the team to beat. Never materialized. COVID kind of killed the visit stuff. Committed to Oklahoma, which was like the only school he had visited pre-COVID outbreak and shutdowns and everything else. But now he's taking visits. And again, this, I was told as soon as he committed to Oklahoma, I had someone at his school and I had college coaches text me, this is not over. He's going to take visits. This is going to, because initially he was going to go all the way to like signing day. And then all of a sudden he committed to Oklahoma early. So this is coming full circle now. He's starting to take visits. I have not heard that Ohio State's really involved there at this point, though. Bill, have you heard anything different? And kind of, I guess start there. Have you heard anything with Luther Burden and Ohio State? Because it feels like Ohio State may have moved on.
No, I have not. Now, would it be hard to put that together? No, he is a great player. So, if Heartline reaches out, hey, let's get back together. And the kid's like, yeah, I'm going to take visits. You get one of my visits. Well, then that thing can get put back together, within an hour. So, but I have not heard anything yet. No, I love the kid. Since I first heard of him, the size, the speed, the body control. He's just got everything that you want in a receiver. And this is a great receiver class, and he's the best, in my opinion. And I think he fits so well with Oklahoma. I do think he's going to look around, but he fits there great. I mean, he'll go there and he could be a 3-and-out guy and catch 150 balls in 3 years. So I think it's a good fit for him, but he would be a good fit anywhere. So, there's nothing not to like with that guy. He has, if you look at some of the top receivers that, we've liked in the past few years, he fits with any of them, Julian Fleming or anyone you want to name. This guy is right there, and he deserves to be here. He's top 10 in America for sure.
This might be a little high praise because of where he's went in the draft. He reminds me a lot of Ja'Marr Chase.
Yeah, sure.
He might be an inch or so taller than Ja'Marr Chase as well, but just a big physical, big body guy, can go up in traffic, make catches, but can run away from you. Kind of scary fast for how strong he is. I actually got a chance to see him in person. Last summer I went out to the high school, watched him work out and run around, catch balls, and he's impressive. I've said that it's kind of hard to separate a lot of the receivers in this class. So he's kind of my number one guy. And then after him, there's 6 or 7 guys where I think you could probably, maybe even more than that, where you could kind of jumble them up. But I'm pretty comfortable with Burden 1. And yeah, we'll see if the Oklahoma commitment sticks. It's certainly you can never fault a receiver for going to Oklahoma. I mean, that's
right.
They do a great job there. It's a great offense. And I'm not certainly not, having an issue with him going to Oklahoma or anything like that. I just know that, as soon as he committed, I had people say, wait a minute. This isn't over. There's going to be visits. Other schools are going to have their say. Alabama, I think is going to have their say in here. So we'll see what happens. It could be an interesting one to follow, if not for Ohio State. Certainly if you're a follower of, the national recruiting picture, this could get fun here the next few months. All right, moving on. Number 8, defensive end, Jeremiah Alexander. He is committed to Alabama. He is from Thompson High School in Alabama. Maybe not, we have him. I think there's a lot of people that do have him in this range. He's not a prototype, 6'5", 6'6" guy, but holy cow, is he athletic. Are we talking Dwight Freeney here? I mean, what are we seeing here?
Yeah, I like him. I mean, he looks really short on film. I mean, if you watch him, like when plays are over and you watch him go back to the huddle, it's not like Chase Young where he towered over everybody. You know what I mean? He was 3 foot taller than all the refs and everybody else. You don't see that with Jeremiah Alexander. He is so quick off the ball. He is almost unblockable, but he's strong as can be too. I mean, he's really a great football player without like maybe the great measurables that we like to see out of a D end. I don't think he's real long and he's not real tall, but you can't block him. Now, I think he's from Alabama. If he doesn't go to Alabama, there's something wrong there. So he's not leaving. He's going there. And in their 3-4 defense, he's really good there, as a 3-4 tackle, I guess, or, outside guy in that 3-4. I like him a lot. He's just a great football player. He's unblockable. I don't care that he's not 6'5". I'll take him right now. So be interesting to see, I think they're going to get him, and it'd be interesting to see how they plug and play him, kind of a Quinnen Williams type, maybe. I don't know. He's really not like a lot of guys. He's not really an easy comparison, but great football player.
Yeah, he's almost the size of most of their linebackers. So I just think he's a pass rushing specialist, and I'm always willing to go high on someone like that. I mean, it's just an unbelievable athlete. And again, would I like him to be 6'4"? Yes, but I'll tell you what, he can get after it. I'm really impressed with this guy, and I actually I've talked to a few people who think he's one of the 5 best players in the country. So it's not, I don't think we're a huge outlier here. I think there are people who feel this way about him as a top 10 guy. Now we're going to, speaking, we just talked about maybe not having the prototypical frame and size. That is not a problem here. Shamar Stewart comes in at number 7, Monsignor Pace, Miami area, in Florida. Boy, wow. 6'5", 260
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, can go. I'm not one of those guys that you look at and you're like, I don't know if he's quite athletic enough. He might have to move inside. No, not Shamar Stewart can play outside on the edge. Major freak, Bill. You know that area very well. What do you like about Shamar Stewart?
Yeah, he's just a power DN that you could play him strong side, weak side, stand him up, hand in the ground, whatever you want. I mean, he is so impressive. He would be the opposite of Jeremiah Alexander in terms of the eye test or the look test. This is an A++. He really reminds me, and I saw Joey Bosa at a young age, went over to the school not to see Joey Bosa. They had those receivers, Philip Dorsett and Rashad Greene. Yeah. And Chris Carter, who I got to know really well, had me come over to the school. He wanted to show me his receivers. And he was like, oh, by the way, we have a DN that's going to be pretty good someday. You might want to meet. And it was Joey Bosa. And that's kind of who Shamar Stewart reminds me of, kind of a Joey Bosa type that, he's a lot quicker than he looks for his size. And the size is amazing. So weak side, strong side, stand him up, hand down, whatever you want to do, he can do what you need from him. And he's got a chance to be, a superstar.
Now, is he going to stay in state, or is he going to play at a place like Alabama, Georgia, SEC?
I think LSU is. LSU. I was told LSU's got their hooks in him, and he's listening. So, but this guy's probably going to be, if he's a typical, Monsignor Pace kid, we're going to be talking about him after Thanksgiving. And I don't care if he commits somewhere, we're going to be talking about him all the way into December. Yeah. So this one will be, nobody's going to walk away from this kid, Mark. I mean, I don't care if you're Georgia, Alabama, LSU, they're going to fight this one to the death. So we'll be talking about Shamar Stewart probably the night before signing day.
Yeah, I know. I mean, there was a little Ohio State stuff there early. There's been nothing there recently that would indicate to me that we're going to see him in Columbus for a visit at any point. But, I guess you never know. I'm sure they'll continue to ring the phone and see if he wants to come up here. But, I don't, before anyone kind of goes into that, I don't think that's a real thing with Ohio State right now. This one could be a real thing with Ohio State right now. Number 6, Zach Rice, offensive tackle, Lynchburg Christian Academy in Virginia. This is our number one offensive tackle in the country, number one offensive lineman in the country, and what I think we both feel is a very, very strong offensive tackle class. I think Zach's the best. Bill, what makes him our top guy again, this is not a down year for offensive line. This is a great offensive tackle class, and he's number one. Why is that?
Yeah, he's got everything, the length, the footwork, the size. I mean, to me, my notes I wrote, this is best O lineman in a great O line class. So that speaks for itself. I did my yes, no, maybe, probably, possibly, unlikely. I did my list, and he was a no on April 29th. He was a definite no for me. And then I did it again. Now we're, into May, mid-May. He's not a no anymore. He's like a maybe minus. Like but it's climbing. The arrow's pointing up for Ohio State. They got a long way to go. You're in the battle with Notre Dame and Bama, and I think North Carolina might actually be the favorite right now, as hard as that is to believe. But Ohio State, he's listening. And I was told by someone that he's listening more today than he was a month ago. So this is a kid, much like Bama and LSU, and they're going to fight Shamar Stewart to the death. Ohio State will fight Zach Rice to the death. I mean, you're not going to walk away from this kid. If he shows a crack, just a glimmer, give me a little window, then I'm fighting, and I'm not walking away. So we'll see what happens. I think their chances are better today than they were a month ago. And hopefully they're better a month from now than they are today.
Here's what's fascinating to me about Zach Rice's recruitment right now. And I agree. If I had to pick right now, I'd probably pick North Carolina. I know people are going to scoff at that because, Notre Dame and Ohio State and all these other schools are in there. But I think North Carolina at one point probably had a bigger lead than they do now. But I just think they've been very strong there with him. And we've seen them. They've been able to win some of these recruiting battles the last year or two. So shouldn't discount them at all. But what's interesting to me about Zach is he is going to be here on that June 4th weekend. And if you look at that list that you can look at on BuckeyeScoop.com on our message board, we got it up in the June visit thread. If you look at that list is the commits and the guys that they're trying to close on and that they feel they can close on that visit. There are not a lot of, shot in the dark type of players coming on the June 4th weekend. I mean, that it is their absolute, like, let's close on these guys now type guys along with the commits. And Zach Rice is on that list. That's a little telling to me. I think that's really interesting. And I think, again, I was similar to you. I had kind of written them off for that one a couple months ago. It just didn't look very good to me. And I'm coming around to the fact that they're probably a little more in this one than maybe I thought a couple months ago. And whether that's a big change of heart on Zach Rice's part, where maybe some guys, have gone elsewhere that Ohio State, a Keontae Goodwin or something like that. And now if you're Zach, you're looking at that and, Ohio State's looking for tackles. They don't have one yet. If you consider Tegra a guard like I do. And then, you look at, they're going to be losing these tackles here, upcoming, Paris Johnson's not going to be here all that long anyway, once he slides over the tackle. And, I think they're probably selling a pretty appealing depth chart for him to walk into, if he is so inclined. So, let's watch this one for a few weeks. Let's see what happens here. I think it's going to be interesting.
Right. I agree.
Okay. We are up to number 5. This is a one-time Ohio State target, which I will pat myself on the back on this one. I told everyone to stop getting their hopes up here and that he wasn't coming to Ohio State. That's Damani Jackson, 5-star corner out of Mater Dei. That, never for me was never real, but, he ends up at USC, or for now, at least, there's people who swear he's going to take visits as well. We'll see how that goes. Bill, first of all, just the player here, again, just another special corner.
Yeah, length, speed, hip, size, the same thing that we've said about Denver Harris, Will Johnson, all these. This is such a great corner class. Now, this is the one guy that I would almost be, I don't know. I would almost be tempted to play him both ways because I think he's an amazing wide receiver prospect. I love him with the ball in his hands. So I would be a little tempted to Chris Gamble him a little bit and maybe, man, I'd be tempted to get him in on offense, maybe 10 plays a game, just to try to get the ball in his hands. I mean, he is that special, but I'm not moving him off defense. He's playing every play on defense for me for sure. It's a shutdown corner, great talent. So I love this kid.
Yeah, and I'm not. So this is going to be it's going to sound like I'm knocking him, and I'm not, because I mean he's sitting here at number 5, but he is the one guy that we're going to talk about here in this top 10 when we talk about the number 1 corner in the country. He's the one guy that I'm not sure if he isn't just that new age safety, that center fielder with size and range and athleticism and toughness. And I'm not so sure he's not a safety at the next level, which, I could be wrong. I know a lot of schools are probably think I'm an idiot for thinking that. I know there are a lot of them are recruiting him at corner, or at least certainly telling him he's a corner.
Yeah.
I just, I've seen him in person. He's so big. Like, it's hard to like, it's, and maybe this is probably a me thing. It's probably a me problem, but you look at him physically and you're like, now how can he be a corner? Like, you just look at him. And so maybe I've got a mental block there that I just can't like wrap my brain around the fact that he can legitimately be a corner at that size, but he's just so physically imposing. But he's an unbelievable talent, and very deserving here at number 5. We're going to stick with the corner theme, and a guy I just saw here this past week, number 4, Jaheem Singletary, Ohio State commit. I think for me, I've been very hesitant to ever make these types of comparisons. I said I would never compare anyone to Jalen Ramsey again. And then I kind of did a little bit with Jeff Okudah. And then I kind of said, well, I'm not going to compare anyone to Jeff Okudah again. And then I saw Jaheem Singletary's film, like his sophomore year. I said, oh my God, that's Jeff Okudah. So I think the world of him. Bill, what do you see there on film? And again, we're in that range of like trying to separate one 5-star corner from the next, but what makes Jaheem so special?
Well, I love the length. I love how physical he is. He'll come up and run, support, and tackle, which, you always want your corners to do. What I like about him, if you watch him on film, the hip recovery to catch up is so, like, everybody gets beat. Okay, I don't care who you are. You get beat. You think the receiver's going right, and he cuts left, and then that's the moment of truth. Can you stick that foot in the ground? And how long does it take you from going right to be able to go left? And he can do it instantly. And that doesn't show up on a 40 time. Okay. That's being able to flip those hips, stick that foot in the ground, change direction, and catch up, because everybody gets beat. But how long does it take you to catch up? And this guy, it's almost instantaneous with him. And then he's so physical. I love the guy. I mean, and again, great corner class. And it almost sounds like a broken record. We keep talking about Denver Harris and Will Johnson and Damani Johnson. They're all great. I mean, they're all great. If you're an elite program and you don't come out of this cycle with a great shutdown corner, then shame on you. Shame on you, and shame on your DB coach, because they're out there in this class. And I love this kid. I mean, he fits with Okudah and, Gary and Conley and Eli, all the first round corners, Marshawn Lattimore. He's right there with them. If he doesn't get hurt, he should be a superstar at Ohio State.
I think the thing with Okudah that he reminds you of, he just seems so instinctual. He's one of those guys that sometimes you watch some of these corners and it's just like, my God, he knew what route they were running.
Yeah,
from the jump. It's just unbelievable. That's how Okudah was. It wasn't that. And Jeff was a great athlete. I mean, a great athlete, but it wasn't that he was just this unbelievable physical marvel. It was the instincts. Like, I single-handedly, like, I watched him win a 7-on-7 game for his team on defense. Like he wasn't catching touch. Like he literally was willing his team to win with interceptions and plays on defense and I just like the breaks on the ball he would make, and I feel that with Jaheem Singletary. That's just my take from watching him and from seeing a lot of Okudah when he was in high school, but just unbelievable talent, I think. And I just saw him last week. He's not like super like he's tall and he's long, but he's not super filled out yet. Like he's got 10, 15, 20 pounds to go, I think, on his frame, but he's still very physical, which means, my goodness, what's he going to be in 10 or 15 pounds from now? How tough is he going to be in press coverage or in run support? And I think he's their next dude, which leads me to this. Will he sign with Ohio State, Bill?
Man, I feel pretty good about it, and we're going to see. He could be a guy who takes visits. Florida is not going to walk away from this one. Florida had a pretty good in there too with his family, and it looked like they had him for a while. And then Ohio State, Combs and them swooped in and took him. Well, Florida's not going to take that land down. So they're going to battle this all the way. But I feel really good about Ohio State here. I really do. And I wanted to add something, since you kind of brought up the 7-on-7, and you've gotten to know, you've met some of my dudes down there in Miami that I've known forever. And people in Ohio don't really understand 7-on-7. They understand the concept, but they don't know how big it is. Like in Florida, it is a separate sport. And I mean, it's amazing. It goes on for months and months and months. They play 7-on-7 every weekend, and it's huge. These teams are gigantic, and it's important. It means something to these kids. And the Miami 7-on-7 coaches, they think everybody from Miami is the greatest, and everybody else outside of Miami is just looking up at them. They told me Tyreek Johnson could not play a lick. They told me Shaun Wade was the most overrated player in the country. Now, whether they're right or wrong, I argued with them on both those kids. This is the one kid that they are like in awe of, and they look down on all the Jacksonville kids, and not this kid. They love this kid, and those guys are sharp. Those guys, you start talking about guys like Pat Surtain, Sr., those guys know football. They played in the NFL. I'm not talking about low-level third uncle schlubs here. I'm talking about guys that know football, and they love Jaheim Singletary, and that means a lot to me.
Yeah. He's quite a talent. The one thing I'll say for Ohio State on this, right now I do think he's going to sign with Ohio State. I did just talk to him last week and sat down with him. I think the biggest thing Ohio State has going for it, other than that relationship with Kerry Combs, is Jaheim is actually very low key. Like he is not a big interviews guy. He's not a big Twitter guy. He's not, all into the recruiting scene, trying to visit all these places. I don't know that he particularly enjoys the recruiting process, which is unusual for the Florida guys because they usually love this stuff. And I don't know that he really does. And I think that helps Ohio State because I think he's just like, I'm good. I don't need to go see Georgia and Alabama and Florida and Texas. And I think that helps them here a little bit. Now I do think Florida is a legitimate threat. And he admitted that, they have been very aggressive.
Oh yeah.
They are not stopping. He said sometimes, when these other coaches call and text, he doesn't really bother with them that much, but he did kind of hint that, Florida has not taken no for an answer. So that's going to be an ongoing thing until the pen is put to paper. So we'll see. But like I said, I think they're in pretty good shape right now to keep that one. And certainly that'll be a big one for them. They got to treat that one like, just like you would Zach Rice or, anyone else, you got to treat that one like an uncommitted 5-star you're trying to land.
Right.
But
right.
Yeah, I no real red flags at this point, other than the fact that we thought he was going to Florida at one point and they're not stopping recruiting him, but he has not actually given us, or me at least, reason to think he's not solid with Ohio State. But
yep, I agree.
We'll see what happens. Okay. That was the end of the 5-stars. So Jaheim just missed out. He's right on the bubble. And for the record, I considered it, and Bill, you can kind of comment on this, if you want, but I considered the top 6 guys for 6-star. That was kind of my cutoff. Once we got to like Zach Rice, I kind of Shamar Stewart a little bit. So maybe I guess maybe I should say like 7. Those are the guys I at least thought about. And we ultimately are settling on the top 3 for right now. Bill, like how many guys did you think about? Was it just the next 3 we're going to talk about, or did you have some other guys that you at least, put some thought into it?
Yeah, to me, Shamar was the cutoff, and Shamar was the one that I would have said no to, because I don't think the production has yet met all of the measurables and the eye test and everything we think he's going to be. The film's good, but I think he's a little bit raw, and I don't think you can be a 6-star when you're a little bit raw. But then Zach Rice on down, my gosh, those guys are unbelievable. So Zach Rice, Damani Jackson, Jaheem Singletary, close, love them. But the next 3 I thought were guys that I thought were a cut above.
And we're going to be conservative on this. It's unlikely we'd ever give out, 12 of these or anything like that. No. It's generally going to be the very cream of the crop. And in some years we might look at it and say, well, there's none, or there's only 1, or, so it can fluctuate a little bit. My kind of opinion on this is like, again, I'm looking for what I would consider a guy who would like live up to a 6-star billing. Again, to me, that'd be a Jeff Okudah, a Chase Young. We're talking, potential 3-and-done guys. Yep. We would expect them to play as freshmen. Maybe they don't start if they go to an Alabama or a Clemson or an Ohio State and there's an All-American in front of them. Maybe they don't start right away. But I mean, just even winding the clock back, to this past class, I would probably would have went 6 on a guy like Jack Sawyer. I probably would have went 6 on a guy like JT Tuimoloau. Just for guys, I'm trying to reference people that, Ohio State fans would know. But, those are types of guys, we're looking for here, not just your 20 overall great prospect, 5-star, probably an NFL guy. There's like just a little extra to these guys. I don't know, Bill, how you feel about it, but kind of what would like, I guess, your criteria here, and kind of just maybe an example or 2 you've seen over the years that you would kind of throw into that mix, or kind of how you try and go about the process.
Yeah, to me, it has to be a kid that checks every single box. Not most of them. Where we talked about Jeremiah Alexander. What a great football player. He could play as a freshman at Alabama. I mean, but not ideal size for me. And I'm not sure position, if he's inside, is he outside, how tall really is he? Not real long. No, you got to check every single box before I call you a 6-star. And I was kind of the one that threw the 6-star thing out there about 10 years ago, or maybe a little longer than that, even with LaMarcus Joyner. And that was more hype. And it was just, just creating some buzz and having fun. It wasn't serious. This is serious to me now, because in actuality, LaMarcus being 5'9" today would not qualify as a 6-star player for me. He would not check every box. He checked most of them, didn't check all of them. So if I'm gonna call somebody a 6-star, you got to check every box. I can't see anything on there that I would say, I love him, but I sure wish this. No, you got to have it all. And these next 3 guys, to me, for their positions, they have it all.
All right, let's get to it. First 6-star, and he is the number 3 overall player in the country. That is Travis Hunter out of Collins Hill High School outside of Atlanta in Georgia. He's committed to Florida State. He is a cornerback athlete. And when I say athlete, I mean athlete. My goodness. I never, ever talk about these kids in terms of playing receiver. I think they're all crazy to consider it. Travis Hunter could very well be the best receiver in this class, as well as the best corner. And even like I was talking to Jaheem Singletary, and Jaheem was like, yeah, I'm the number 1 corner in the class, but Travis is the best 2-way player in the country. Like even Jaheem, who, these guys all think they're the best. Even Jaheem was willing to acknowledge Travis Hunter as a special player, as a 2-way prospect. Again, I think, could be a 1st-round pick as a wide receiver. He's unbelievable talent. I'm trying to think of a comparison. I'm racking my brain right now. Like, Jeff Okudah could have played offense. Marshawn Lattimore could have played off. I don't know that they could have played offense the way Travis Hunter could play offense. I mean, it's unbelievable. Bill, your thoughts on Travis, and do you think? Are you with me on the offense, or do you think because I've been watching some of his offensive stuff. It's unbelievable.
Because the same thing I said about Damani Jackson, where I'm playing him every play on defense and I'm giving him 10 on offense. This kid, I mean, he might be a two-way player. I mean, where you spot him, where you got to spot him, if it's running down, get him off the field on offense, but maybe see what his conditioning is like if you can get 90 plays out of him. I mean, he to me checks every single box. He's got every measurable that any human being could want, but then you watch the film and the film matches it. The production matches the potential. And he is going to play from day one. If he ends up at Florida State, which I'm hearing that could be, it might not be. We'll see. I'm expecting drama with Travis Hunter. I don't think he just waltzes into Florida State, never takes a visit, and recruits their class and is all loyal to them to the end. I just wait and see on this one. And this is the guy that Nick Saban is, in those type of programs, you fight this one to the death, And like I said, I think he starts day one. I would play him both ways. I would find a way, to get him out there on offense. He's going to have to get out there for 20 plays on offense and, every play on defense. But pretty special. Not a guy. The best way I could describe it is this is not a guy that we see every year.
No,
I don't know who to compare him to either, but like Jaheem Singletary, Damani Jackson, Denver Harris, they're great. And we see them every couple of years. We see guys like them every year, every other. I didn't see nothing like this. I don't know who to compare him to.
Yeah, I'm struggling for a comparison as well because, again, I think we see receivers as good as him, somewhat regularly. And I think we see corners as good as him somewhat. I mean, and maybe even this year. I mean, Jaheim Singletary, those guys may be right there with him at corner, but he's both of those things in one human. It's unbelievable. It's really unbelievable.
Would you be tempted to play him both ways? And I don't mean when you're playing. I don't mean against.
No, I don't know how you
against
don't.
Georgia Tech. I'm not playing him both ways against Georgia Tech. I'm not playing him both ways against maybe NC State. But man, we're in a big game. That dude's got to be ready to go because he's not going to leave the field much. We're playing Clemson. I need all hands on deck. And he's going to have to play both ways, because he's my number one receiver. He's my number one DB. I need more out of him. So that's the way I would look at him. I wouldn't look at him as a two-way player in the blowouts. But man, when I need to,
and it's not a gimmick. He is a dynamic receiver.
Right.
He's a dynamic receiver.
I would probably save him in the first half of these games. And when we're in a tight game in the second half, he's not leaving the field for me. And I'm going to push the envelope and get as much out of him as I can because you're only going to have him for 35, 40 games.
Yep.
This is 3 and out and goodbye, unless he gets hurt. So, I mean, really special.
Yep. All right, here we go. Our number 2 player. This is a guy Ohio State fans will be familiar with. Walter Nolan, defensive tackle, St. Benedict. He's from the Memphis, Tennessee area. First, let's talk about Ohio State here. Walter continues to list Ohio State among his top schools. I don't buy it. I don't think he's going to end up at Ohio State. I don't think there's any chance he doesn't play in the SEC. I don't think Ohio State thinks they have a chance, unless they are totally sandbagging on this one. Bill, real target, not, I mean, what do we think first there? And then we'll get into why he's a 6-star.
Yeah, on my yes, no, maybe, possibly, probably, unlikely list, he's a no. And I think it is a no. I think Florida is in really, really good shape for Walter Nolan. I think it's going to go a while. I mean, I don't know how you feel, but I'm being told that Michigan's got a puncher's chance here. Now, that seems a little weird to me, but I don't know. That's what I was told from someone that I trust. So we'll see. If I had to, I would agree with you that he stays south. And I think Florida feels really good about where they're sitting right now for Walter Nolan.
Yeah, the couple people I've talked to about this are just adamant he's playing in the SEC. So Michigan's getting a bit of the Ohio State treatment right now. So it's like, hard to kind of sniff that out, how real that is. I think it's probably about as real as Ohio State, in my opinion, but we'll see. I mean, maybe he's going to Andre Walker all of us or something and just put the Michigan and Ohio State hats on the table on signing day and pick from one of those two after we've been calling him to the SEC the whole way. But we'll see. What makes him a 6-star for you?
Well, he's such a rare D tackle. I mean, you shouldn't be this quick at this size. You just shouldn't. I mean, he's a big monster, but he's like a quick tackle. He's got Davon Hamilton quickness, and he's a house, and then he beats him up. He's physical as can be, and he beats up the guy across from him, and he runs people down too from the backside. I mean, he is just really, really special. And it's such a premium position. You can control when you got a monster defensive tackle, you can control so much on the inside. He can provide a pass rush on the inside. That's very rare. Stop the run. I mean, just a special player. He's the best of the D linemen for sure. I mean, he's amazing.
Yeah, you nailed it on the pass rush. If you can get that interior pass rush, because quarterbacks can step up. I mean, Chase Young can beat your left tackle all game, and if you've got an experienced and smart quarterback, he can kind of step up, avoid that, make plays. If it's coming right up in his face, it's a no chance. I mean, and I would not normally vouch for defensive tackle in this range. Unless he was a special pass rusher too, because I would not make a plugger, a one-tech plugger,
it's not a plugger,
a 6-star number 2 in the country. I think those guys still have a lot of value. They don't have as much value as they did 10, 15, 20 years ago. But this guy is such a nightmare as a pass rusher on the interior, and I'm not convinced he couldn't even play on the outside on the edge a little bit. He is athletic.
Oh yeah,
like it's crazy. We talked about this with Travis Hunter. I don't know that we see guys like this every year. I don't think we do. I think there's always a 5-star defensive tackle somewhere, and we've seen some monsters, big one-tech type guys. We even have a couple in this class. I don't know that we see a guy with this type of pass rushing capability who can also, do the things you want in terms of gap integrity and stopping the run and everything else. I think he's unbelievable. I think he's a very unique player. I think, we're going to talk about someone here in a second that I think's unique, but I think that we just are used to kind of talking about the position. I think these first 2 6-stars, these are guys I just think are so unique that you just don't see them every year. It's really interesting to me. But all right, number 1. Everyone has to know who this is, right? like I'm not about to surprise anyone, am I? It is Quinn Ewers, quarterback commit for Ohio State, South Lake Carroll. He's pretty much, does anyone not have him number 1 at this point? I mean, he's a consensus number 1, but is he unanimous number 1 at this point? I think he is.
I haven't checked. I would think so.
But
I haven't checked.
Yeah, just, look, premium position, phenomenal talent. Bill, fire away. Quinn Ewers here at number 1.
Yeah, I mean, he checks off every box from the size, the athleticism, the ability to be able to get the ball out quickly, makes great decisions, can make every throw, can gun the ball through tight windows when he has to. He's got touch, throwing the fades. I like everything about him. Now, there have been some questions on the delivery, that it's kind of a funky delivery. That does not bother me one iota. Phillip Rivers doesn't throw the ball the way Baker Mayfield throws it, and he doesn't throw it like Peyton Manning threw it, and he doesn't throw it like Tom Brady threw it. The funky delivery never bothers me. Funky footwork, you ain't going to make it. Funky decision-making, you're not going to make it. But the funky delivery thing, it means nothing to me. Get it out quickly, be accurate, and make great decisions. And the funky delivery means squat to me. I love the footwork. I love the decision making. And I don't care how the ball gets there. He's got a good arm. He's very accurate. I don't care what it looks like. Doesn't bother me.
It is a super interesting arm angle that he throws from. I do. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's a unique throwing motion or arm angle, arm slot.
No doubt.
The throws he makes are just insane. Yeah, man, this is probably gonna get blown out of proportion. It's Mahomes like that he can throw from the arm slot he throws from with the zip and the touch, and it's amazing. It's amazing the throws he makes from that arm slot. And I know Mahomes is more of a change it up kind of guy. He'll throw from 5 or 6 different arm slots, and I'm not saying Quinn's quite at that level yet, but that's what it reminds me of. Cause I'm like, who can throw the ball from that type of arm slot and still generate the zip, can still have the touch and the accuracy and the timing? And I'm like, well, the first guy that comes to mind is Pat Mahomes. That's what comes to mind. And I think they're similar athletically. They're not Lamar Jackson, but they're very mobile. You've got to respect their legs. He's a winner. He comes out of an amazing program.
Oh yeah. Love that program.
It's hard to see him failing. I mean, it's really hard to see. I mean, once we got to about 30 on this list, it kind of became hard to see any of these guys fail. But I mean, it just and so that kind of brings us to our next thing. Like, is he Trevor Lawrence? Like if Trevor Lawrence is the bar, is he at Trevor Lawrence's level? Is he a better prospect? Is he a little bit below Trevor Lawrence? Where does he fall, I guess, on the quarterback hierarchy, the last half dozen years?
Yeah, I'm a big Trevor Lawrence whisperer, guru, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in awe of Trevor Lawrence. I still am.
Yep.
And Tom Orr had Greg Powers on the morning show, and Greg is someone that I respect so much. I've worked with him. We worked side by side for years, and he says, that Quinn Ewers is a cut below Trevor Lawrence. And, I like what Greg says. Greg's seen him in person a ton, and I don't think that's a knock on someone,
No.
and who cares? You know what I mean? Who really cares if we say he's better than Trevor Lawrence? He's just not, it doesn't matter. We don't, let the kid play, man. We'll find out. We're going to find out soon enough, and, the main question for me is he better than Kyle McCord? That's my comparison. You know what I mean? He's not competing against Trevor Lawrence. He is going to compete against Kyle McCord at some point. And that to me is going to be fascinating. Just where like the Stroud, Jack Miller duel, this is the next one. A couple of years down the road, the McCord Ewers thing is going to be really interesting to watch. So that's my comparison. I don't care if someone thinks he's better than Trevor Lawrence or just a cut below, or who cares, But again, we talk 6 stars. I'm looking for somebody that checks every box. And of the things that I think is important, the things I think are important to be a championship quarterback, he checks them all off. And that funky delivery thing is not on my checklist. So he's a 6-star to me.
Yeah, Trevor's probably the best quarterback prospect I've covered, or that I've seen. I guess I shouldn't say covered. Ohio State was never in that, but I saw quite a lot of Trevor in high school, and he's probably. But I'll say this about Quinn. I think most years, maybe 75, maybe 3 out of every 4 years, he's probably the number 1 player or number 1 quarterback in the country. I mean, I don't think this is just, he's the number 1 quarterback because maybe it's not the greatest quarterback class ever. I think most years he's the top quarterback. So I think he's a unique player, a unique talent. I don't think, I don't think there's guys better than him every year. I think most years, again, he'd be number 1. And yeah, the McCord thing's going to be fascinating. I mean, that could be an all-time quarterback battle.
Sure.
I mean, that could be, the arm talent that those two have collectively. I mean, you've got to pick between, one of that. I mean, that's going to be, I know everyone's excited about this quarterback battle, but I think the next one's more interesting because
Yeah, I feel the same way.
I feel like this one's always been Stroud. I feel like, I feel like it's always been Stroud. I feel like, for McCord to win it, you got to basically be okay with Stroud and Miller leaving and being left with one scholarship quarterback, and it's a true freshman. And I don't know. I saw quite a bit of CJ down the stretch coming out of high school when he was becoming this big recruit, and he's extremely talented. So to me, this quarterback battle, I know everyone wants to make a big deal about it. I don't see a big one. I think the next one is going to be.
I agree.
It's going to be like a heavyweight title fight. It's going to be amazing. It's going to go 12 rounds. Like we're going to be some twists and turns, some haymakers landed. Going to be interesting. So,
no doubt.
All right. Well, I know, we didn't shock the world here with the Ewers pick. That's kind of the industry standard right now. Quinn's pretty much number one across the board, I think, at this point, but we enjoyed doing this. We'll update it at some point. Bill and I will get together and kind of figure out when is appropriate for that. Probably want to see a little more of these guys. I would think, I don't know, maybe a few weeks into the season anyway. We've got a chance to finish up our summer and see some games, but we'll let you guys know when we're going to do that. As always, BuckeyeScoop.com. Left side, go to rankings, Scoop 100. You can see the whole list there to follow along. I'll put the link in the description box if you're watching on YouTube. Otherwise, we will get back to some maybe some standard podcasting here in the next few days. Start talking about the upcoming month for Ohio State. It's gonna be a big month in June. We'll get into that some more on our next episodes. Hope everyone enjoyed our countdown, and we'll see you guys next time.